Hi class, in this recording we're going to talk about acid-base balance in our bodies. We're going to take a little bit of the urinary system and link it to the respiratory system. So this is going to be our first truly cross-organ system discussion of human anatomy and physiology. And it's going to be kind of cool. We're going to connect a lot of dots. Now, any discussion of acid and base balance is going to need to involve a discussion about water. Acids and bases typically are going to involve an aqueous solution. And in the human in the human body, we have lots of water, or aqueous solutions. As we look at a newborn baby is about 75–80% water. Young men who have typically a higher percentage of skeletal muscle on their bodies than young women will have about 55–60% water. You can note that the figure I included right here includes different numbers compared to the numbers that were in your lecture textbook. I'm not going to test you on the specific numbers. I'm more interested in the general trend, which is as we age, the percentage of water in our body goes down. Women, generally speaking, have slightly less water in their bodies by body composition, and that's because women, generally speaking, have less skeletal muscle because of the lack of testosterone, and they have a little bit more adipose tissue. As we age, we lose water from our bodies, and if we're obese, we also have less water in our bodies. As we look at adipose tissue is overwhelmingly going to be made up of these large storage vesicles filled with lipids. And since adipose tissue has almost no water in it, the more adipose we have, the less water we have in our body as a whole. As we look at total body water composition, in we'll say just a generic young man, 150-pound young man, we have about 40-ish liters in our quote-unquote average young man. Now within our bodies, we take water and we mix it up in different parts. We have intracellular fluid, which is where most of the water in our body is going to be. Intracellular fluid, ICF, is the liquid on the water on the inside of our cells. Intra for inside. Inside of what? Our cells. We also are going to have fluid or water outside of our cells. That's the extracellular fluid. And of our body's composition, 35% of our body's water is extracellular fluid. Of that extracellular fluid, most of it's going to be in between the cells of our body. That is the interstitial fluid. We also are going to have some liquid water in our blood plasma and lymphatic fluid, a smidgen there, and then a little miscellaneous category. This is called the transcellular fluid. Transcellular fluid means it's moving from one cell to another cell. And this kind of miscellaneous catch-all category includes things like water and synovial fluid, peritoneal fluids, the serous membrane fluids, the liquids, water in the eye, the cerebral spinal fluid water, water within the digestive tract and general urinary tracts. So there's little bits of water all over our body, and all those little bits of water add up to 2%, the transcellular category, or the other category. Now in our body, we are constantly exchanging fluid, and this is something that a lot of students struggle with. Most students, in particular, think that nutrients go directly from the digestive tract to the bloodstream, and from the bloodstream directly to the cytoplasm of the cell. And that's a common misconception. In between the bloodstream and the cytoplasm of the cell, we have the extracellular fluid. So to get a nutrient to our cells, we first need to take that nutrient from the bloodstream, put it to the extracellular fluid, and then from the extracellular fluid, it goes into the cell to be used. We're constantly going to be moving water around from the stomach and digestive tract, where we take water in, to the circulatory system, where we deliver it to the tissues, and then from the tissues, we're going to send water. Let me clear the screen here. We'll send water back to the circulatory system or to our lymphatic system, and that circulatory system is going to ultimately help us get rid of water by urination. Our lymphatic system helps us get rid of water by dumping it back into the circulatory system, and then we'll also lose some water via digestion, respiration, and sweating. But to move water from one compartment to another compartment, we need to have osmosis, the diffusion of water from an area of high water concentration to an area of low water concentration across that semi-permeable membrane. Water can move really easily through our membranes. So because water can move easily, the osmotic gradients across our membranes never last that long. And if we ever have some kind of an osmotic imbalance, the movement of water typically will restore the balance within just a few seconds, so that intracellular and extracellular osmolarity are nearly equal to each other. We have nearly isotonic solutions when we can pair the liquid inside of the cell to the liquid outside of the cell. And if we have an increase in the salt concentration in the extracellular cavity, water is going to move out of the cell. And if we have a decrease of the osmolarity in the extracellular cavity, water is going to move into the cell so that we can help restore homeostasis. As we look at osmosis, moving liquid from one fluid compartment to another fluid compartment, we are going to be very dependent upon the concentration of the solutes. And it's been a while since we've talked about solutions and solutes and solvents, and that we talked about that for a little bit during the second chapter of Bio 214 ANP1. So to review, a solution, I'm going to use a capital S for solution, is going to be made up of a solvent, a solute, and a solvent, S-L-O, I'm going to say a V right there. So solutions are solutes dissolved in solvents. The solvent is the most common part of the solution. The solute is the least common part of the solution. And most of the time in our body, our solvent is going to be water, and the solute is what we dissolve in the water in our body. And we dissolve a lot of electrolytes. An electrolyte is a dissolved ion that conducts electricity when dissolved in solution. Two common, very, very common electrolytes in our body include sodium and potassium ions. We have lots of sodium salts in our extracellular fluid and lots of potassium salts inside of the cell, in the intracellular fluid. And these electrolytes, sodium, potassium, and to a lesser degree calcium, magnesium, and chloride, and a smidgen of others like bicarbonate, are all going to play a very important role in helping us distribute fluid around our body. We need to take fluid and put it into the blood plasma. We dissolve solutes into the blood plasma. From the blood plasma, it goes to the interstitial fluid, and from the interstitial, it goes to the intracellular fluid, and then back again. And this constantly moving back and forth with this dynamic equilibrium where we're shifting fluids around in our bodies to maintain homeostasis. That's all we have for this recording on fluid compartments. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them on the class discussion board or to shoot me an email. And as always, happy studies.